So, House of the Dragon will be airing in 2022. I think it's like probably in the last 6 months, and so far we just have a teaser trailer from the House of Dragons at HBO Max YouTube channel. But as Game of Thrones has set a bar uh, from different families, from different culture, so almost we gonna meet something like families connections, of course, in the House of Dragon series, season 1. So here this in this video I'm going to explore what families are confirmed for the House of Dragon. So right now, as I hope so that the productions of this series should have been completed, and we will surely get a trailer in coming months. So I hope so it will be here. While those familiar with the history created by the author George R. R. Martin may expect to see familiar families such as Starks, Tyrells makes an appearance somewhere down in the line. House of Dragon, this also will feature many noble houses not prominently featured in Game of Thrones. So as we know, this is like prequel, so we will meet some of the houses which we are not familiar, which are in the books but we are not familiar. So the one house, the particularly this going to be focus on House Hightower. So House Hightower helped spark the war. Though it is House Tyrell that holds the little of Lords Paramount of the Reach, there are many powerful houses located in this region, and few exceed the esteemed House Hightower, ruling over the city of Old Town. And their seat is the castle known as the Hightower, a massive fortified lighthouse that was said to have been built by the famed architect from the Age of Heroes, Bran the Builder, as we have referenced in the Game of Thrones, who tradition states was founder of the House Stark. So this house, the House Hightower, hold important positions in the courts of Targaryen rules. One member is Otto Hightower, the Hand of the King. Three Targaryen rulers, including Viserys the First. Another member is the Queen Alicent Hightower, wife to Viserys, and a key factor in cause of civil war after his death. The other house that is more prominent is House Velaryon. So the House Velaryon is a lesser known Velaryon family. Some fans who are only familiar with the Game of Thrones show or not the expanded lore within the books may mistakenly believe that Targaryen were the only Velaryon family in the Westeros, but this is not the case. There were a handful of others, and the most powerful and important of which was House Velaryon of Driftmark. So the Velaryons were said to have come to Westeros even before the Targaryens and have been some of the closest allies to the Targaryen since the Kingdoms were founded. One of the most famous member of House Velaryon is Corlys Velaryon, known as the Sea Snake, a famously wealthy explorer who lived during the Dance of Dragons. Many Velaryons tamed dragons and rode them into the battle during the Civil War. The third house, it is called the House Beesbury. House Beesbury may not be one of the major houses of Westeros, but some of its members have played small but notable roles throughout its history. Said to have been founded by Aelian Eversweet, a daughter of Garth Greenhand. The Beesbury rules over Honeyhold, which lies along the Honeymine River near the city of Old Town. This is if you are like unknown from this, you can read the books. In the years leading up the Dance of Dragons, Lord Lyman Beesbury served on the small council as the master of coins to King Viserys I. This was most likely the height of the house's influence in the Seven Kingdoms, and they faded into relative obscurity after this time. The other house is How Strong once ruled the ruined castle of Harrenhal. Said to have descended from the first man, House Strong is a noble family from the Riverlands that joins with the House Tully in outing the Ironborn. The Ironborn ruled over the Riverlands for many years before it was taken over by Aegon the Conqueror and the House Targaryen. How Strong eventually came in the possessions of the ruined castle of Harrenhal after its destructions by Balerion the Black Turret, as we have seen in Game of Thrones. House Strong is an important and influential house during the time of House of the Dragon takes place, with many of their members serving in its important positions in the courts of Targaryen kings, often as powerful knights and warriors. However, like most families that have come to possess the supposedly cursed castle of Harrenhal, House Strong would eventually fall from grace and power in their later years. Other mainly house it is house wrestling was once as important family in the Western Ranch. Once one of the more notable house in the Western Ranch, House Wrestling served the Lannisters as one of their principal bannermen from their castle known as the Greg. Fans of the book will recognize Wrestling as a noble house that Robb Stark's wife Jane came to HBO in Game of Thrones. This role was instead filled by a common woman named Talisa. In the book, Robb's wife was Jane Kane and his house was House Resting, but House Resting was at the service of Lannisters. And as we will see in the House of Dragon, throughout much of the history, House Wrestling uh, was a prominent family which one of their members, Sir Harold Wrestling, became the Lord Commander of the King's Guard during the Dance of Dragon. In later years, however, they fell in status and influence until they were little more than a minor house clinging to the vestige of their pride and honor. The other house, House Cole. The House Cole had one very important member, one of the most minor houses in the lands known as the Dornish Marches. House Cole was vassal of the Dundorians and were for the most part obscure and unimportant family through almost their history. Sir Crichton Cole was the son of Steward of Blackhaven. From the book, you will see that at the seat of House Dandorian and would eventually become the Lord Commander of the King's Guard under the King Viserys I. He plays a major role in the events of sparks of the war known as the Dance of Dragons and will no doubt feature heavily in the first season in the House of Dragon. And in particularly a fight scene, we can see Sir Crichton Cole, son. So one of the most important house we can speak of is House Lannister has played the game throughout many eras. Well known and to anyone even vaguely familiar with the Game of Thrones, House Lannister is infamous by producing the trio of siblings Jaime, Cersei, and Tyrion, who played some of the most important roles during both the books and in the HBO series. The Leinster have a long and storied history that begins long before the time during where a Song of Ice and Fire take place. Their wealth and their positions at Casterly Rock as the Wardens of the West has ensured they play an important part in the Seven Kingdoms during the Dance of Dragons. But over all these houses, we are going to talk about the main house, House Targaryen, in as this is the House of Dragon part, and House of Dragon start from House Targaryen. So, House Targaryen is the most powerful and influential family in the Westeros history, founded by Aegon the Conqueror and his two sisters. On the back of their dragons, they would carve out the realm, and that would later come to known as the Seven Kingdoms. In Game of Thrones, the Targaryen have been casted from the power by House Baratheon, but during the Dance of Dragon, they were at their height. The Targaryen had several dragon riders among their ranks and many important family members who would go on fight against their own family in the war, and that would go on to consume the lands around them. So these are some of the few houses that we are gonna see. in the HBO House of Dragon series, and hope so. We will surely receive a trailer in coming months, and what we can expect that this series should release before the end of this year. I really hope that. And guys, that was the video about the houses, and let me know what your thoughts are upon it, and please subscribe and support. And thanks for watching.